Hello, my name is Alun. My pronouns are he, him, and today I'm running session 0 of what will be a quarterly series of Fate of the Quadrant for under the auspices of the Open Hearth Gaming Community's calendar. This is a Fate hack, heavily influenced by Star Trek Adventures by Modiphius, but with rules that I can actually handle. But it would be unfair to say that this is either Fate Core, Fate Condensed, or Fate Accelerated. It's a bit of a Frankenstein's monster of all those things. And we are just about, we've offline, we've kind of agreed who's taking which role on this yet to be named ship. We have a Helm Officer, a Chief Operations, a Senior Science Officer, a Security Chief, and a Chief Medical Officer. And we're just having a conversation about species. And when the players have made some choices, I'll just ask them to tell us which species they're opting for and which species stunt they're opting for. And that stunt is either one of the two species specific ones that they'll find in the Character Keeper, or it is one of the general stunts available to any species. And so far, I think, Will, do you want to just say hello, Will? Tell us about your pronouns and tell us who and what you are at this point, i.e.
My name is Will. My pronouns are he, him, as are those of my character, the Senior Helm Officer, who so far, all I know about him is that he is a Vulcan, because he is a very, very slightly photoshopped Cillian Murphy, because if you can be Cillian Murphy, you should be Cillian Murphy. I think I mainly settled on thought about Vulcan because I thought I would like to see a Vulcan who is not the science officer or the, we've seen what's he called in Voyager? I can't remember his name. Yeah, the security guy. Whatever. Tuvok, yeah. Because those are both very stern roles, and I thought it'd make a nice change given that piloting is often like reflexes, emotional. They're more the emotional characters, right?
Exactly so. Lowell, do you want to say hello? Because it looks like you've made a kind of species choice. Am I?
Yes, I did a character when we played Star Trek Express that was sort of a secondary character that was a Caitian who was a science officer there. And I think I'm going to do him again. So I will take a general stunt. I've got some history for him, but that's who I'm doing.
Okay. Anyone else beginning to settle on species?
Yeah.
I'm going to go.
Say that again, Paul.
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm going to go for the freed Borg.
Ooh, went the crowd. Freed Borg. Fine. So if you can add those species to where it says species on row 4, and then there are a couple. And are you tending towards one of those freed Borg stunts, Paul, or are you thinking of going to one of the general ones?
No, I think the second one on there, the interface with machinery one.
Okay, fine. So, what are you thinking,
considering
David?
a freed Borg. Do we want to have completely different? Yeah, I was considering a freed Borg, but I can try something else.
I think probably you're gonna have some spotlight overlap.
How about Andor?
You go for the same.
Sure. I'm going to go with Andorian then.
Okay. And do you have a preference about which of those species stunts or a general one you're interested in?
The Ushan?
Experienced in the tradition of hand-to-hand honor dueling known as the Ushan, having spilt much blood upon the ice. I think that's a direct quote from Star Trek Adventures because it seemed a really cool one. There we go. Okay. So if you want to put freed Borg in his species, Paul, on your sheet, just as an aid memoir, we've got that species is in progress. And there is the Ushan. So Donna, you're very keen to play the emergency medical hologram. So the closest I've got to offer you is human.
Yeah, which seems fair. And I think I might pick one of the generic stunts, maybe studious.
Like that? There she blows. Which of those general stunts are you thinking about, Lowell?
Collaboration.
Okay. And what about our Vulcan Helm Officer, Will? What are you thinking of? Sharp. Oh, not going for the neck pinch.
No, because you know, I'm going to go for the thing that I'm better. It makes me better at my role than better at fighting. I'm not
And
security.
that is what's going to make this series of Star Trek different from all the other ones, because the Vulcan is playing entirely against type. Love it. Okay. So we've got a Vulcan, we've got a freed Borg, we've got a Caitian Science Officer, we have an Andorian Security Chief, and a Chief Medical Officer who is shaping up to be a studious emergency medical hologram. Brilliant. Okay. Now, at this point, you can rough out your high concept, right? And the high concept is, as you know, something species role. So Vulcan Helm Officer, is that something describing this Helm Officer, or is this a Vulcan Helm Officer who, and then some qualifier?
Okay. I'll have to give it a think.
And that this is subject to change. This is just to give you, you know, what's your initial pitch for this character?
I think it is an adventurous Vulcan Helm Officer.
Okie dokie. And then we'll see, because you'll have a chance before we kind of start play proper to just tweak some of that stuff to fit with the rest of your life path. And the other thing you need to do is to go to the species tab, and you will notice that each of the species comes with a skill. You get +1 in one of the 2 skills associated with that species. So the Andorian needs to choose, do you put 1 into con or security? And that will, you can see that down on row 23, 24, 25, command, con, engineering, insight, and SciMed. Don't quite know where that security has gone.
That's my who did that. It's mad, isn't
okay.
It? So, in your back. I was just wondering, is security, would it be security or con to say fire a shuttlecraft phases, do you think?
That's security.
Okay,
using phasers is security. Maneuver, physical and spaceship is con.
That's what I thought.
And again, there will be a chance to tinker with some of these skill levels when we do some final tweaks. But at the minute, that's your first level of skill. Oh, a freed Borg who still looks mostly Borg to me. So, Chief of Operations, what are you thinking of in terms of your freed Borg starting skill? Where are you going to put that +1?
Engineering?
No, you've got, yeah, you can do that, because I'm assuming that's a human freed Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're a human, you can take any skill at this point. So engineering is fine. What about our Caitian security?
Yes.
I'm reading that right? Okay. Security chief. Taking security as an Andorian, it's a no-brainer for the Andorians. And PsyMed, MedSci for our medical officer. Fine. So that's the first step made. The next thing, I'm going to hide that now because it will have cropped up down below. We now need to think about where you were brought up and where your family is. So I'm going to hide species and instead come up with background. So now you should find there is a background. Now, I'd quite like you to roll this, I have to say, because I think the joy of some of this life path is its randomness. So there is a background tab which has 6 choices for where were you brought up. So who wants to roll a d6? The link to the dice room is in the is in safety and links. Who wants to kick off?
I will, but as I'm on my work laptop, I've just rolled it on Google, and then I have a 3. Now, what is a 3?
Isolated colony.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me pull that across. And what an isolated colony does is it gives you add 1 to engineering or insight, and then add 1 to either engineering or PsyMed. It's on your sheet.
Yeah. I'm going to be very, very unintuitive because people are just not logical enough.
So which one are you going with?
I'm going to go 1 in engineering, and PsyMed seems like it'd be the appropriate one for like use of sensors and stuff, doesn't it? So
yeah, it does.
You know, it feels like as a pilot, you might put all your stuff into con, but you definitely want to be good at some of the general stuff around it as well, right?
Okay. Let me run across then. What about our freed Borg? Want to roll a d6, Paul?
Certainly can.
Would anyone mind if I unfroze the top panel, like the frame, so that we can view?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. No.
Thank you.
2.
What do you got?
2.
2. Sorry, 3 or 2? I didn't hear.
2.
2. Busy colony. Let me pop that across. Comes from one of the culture's oldest, most prosperous colonies. So this is your childhood pre-Borg, obviously, which may be another world within their home system, blah, blah, blah. Skills, add 1 to con or insight, and 1 to either command, security, or PsyMed.
Yep, done.
What have you gone with?
Insight and security.
Okay. What about our science officer, Lieutenant Rusu?
I rolled a 4.
And that, I think, is a frontier colony. So I'll cut and paste that across. So, frontier colony. Add 1 to command or security, and 1 to either con, security, engineering, or PsyMed. Tough out there on the frontier. Yeah, where do you put them?
So I put 1 into security to bump that, and 1 into PsyMed.
Great, fine. We come along to our Andorian security chief. Want to roll a d6, David?
David, you're mute, but I think I read lips and saw a 4.
Yes, that's
a 4?
strange because I did not mute my microphone, but I got muted. 4.
That's another frontier colony. So let's put that in there. Gosh, an Andorian frontier colony must be rough. So that's 1 to command or security, and then 1 to either con, security, engineering, or PsyMed. Where do you want to put them?
I think I'm going to put one into con. Or wait, is that command? Do I have that option?
Command or security, and then con security engineering or SciMed.
Command. Yep.
Okay.
Command, and then.
Was that just me, or did you just freeze then, David, halfway through what I think was sick? Was that just me? Okay, security. Let's come to our medical officer. Where has he been conditioned to believe he came from?
Or is it my first kind of test?
Maybe your first test.
Place, right?
Yeah. I go with that. Go with that.
Okay. I rolled both for some reason. I got a 1.
A 1. Species homeworld. Earth.
Earth.
Fine. Improve a species skill from +1 to +2, then add 1 to either command, security, or SciMed. So what did you take as your first +1?
Yeah, I took MedSci.
That goes to +2, perhaps not unusual. And then you get to add another 1 to either command, security, or SciMed, MedSci.
I mean, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't put 3 in, except that I might be painting myself into a corner later on. But hey, why not? Very focused.
Very focused. Very, very tight programming. Okay, this time let me start with Paul. Paul, what was your family background is the next question, and that's the second bit of that tab.
1d6.
1d6, which I think says Starfleet. Right. Let me pop that across.
No. Sorry, I didn't roll 1 on the d6. I said roll a d6. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I beg your pardon.
I got a 4 on the dice roll.
4. Okay, let me look at that one. A 4 on dice roll is a family background in science and technology. Now, the character's home was one filled with the potential of science and cutting-edge developments were familiar ground. Perhaps the character was raised by scientists or engineers or had mentors and teachers who encouraged a talent for the technical. Were you accepting of that upbringing, or did you rebel against it?
I accepted it.
Then what you do is you increase your SciMed by 1 and your engineering by 1. You are rational, methodical, and precise. Yeah?
Yep.
Our science officer.
A 3.
A 3. Agriculture or rural? I guess Caitians must have an agricultural base.
Absolutely.
Um,
I think I rebelled against that.
Did you know? Why? What's wrong with that?
Yes. I think this is the primitive backwaters. I think my character wanted to do more and make more out in the world.
Okay. So you rebelled against this upbringing. You are likely to have embraced science, technology, and the fruits of civilization, increasing your insight by 1 and your engineering or SciMed by 1.
Okay. I'm going to then increase my insight, and I'm also going to increase my engineering by 1.
Okay. Then we come.
I just did somebody else's thing. I apologize.
I tell you what, can I freeze the top line? Because then we'll be able to keep track of which column we're in.
Sure. We'll use colors for that. But...
Yeah?
Yeah.
Security chief. What's your background? Roll me a d6.
Looks like I rolled a 1.
A 1. Starfleet. Early adopters of the United Federation of Planets, the Andorians. Unsurprising to find you in Starfleet, perhaps. Family may have strong tradition. Oh, rebel against it. Oh, it's the the alternative timeline, Kirk. You rebelled against this upbringing. Your bold and self-determined living increases your con by 1 and your insight by 1.
Mm-hmm.
Medical officer. How did your programming respond to this species homeworld and the experience it gave you? Want to roll a d6?
Yeah, I got a 6.
Diplomacy and politics. That's an interesting bit of programming to build into you.
It's like professional bedside manner, obviously.
Exactly so. But how? What is your feeling about that? Because you are a self-willed artificial intelligence. Did you accept that programming, or did you rebel against it and take a personal interest in something else?
No, that makes perfect sense to me.
Okay.
That I would need to, take charge in certain circumstances, and see exactly what's going on.
Fine.
I can't be making decisions for myself.
Well, interestingly, you get increased command by 1 and insight by 1. So it gives you some confidence and a peculiar insight into biological beings.
They do like to use too small edibles before dinner. I'm not sure what's going on there.
And finally, round to our helm officer. What kind of a...
Which is, I believe, diplomacy and politics on an isolated point, which is an interesting juxtaposition.
It is. How do you imagine putting those two things together?
Well, I think that it's an isolated colony because it's an like a bit like the Shackleton Expanse, or perhaps in less of a gold rush area. It is an area of Federation space that is acting as the Federation itself is not expanding to, but perhaps lots of independent explorers, and there's like a bit of a thing. So it's isolated by its geographical location rather than anything else. There being no strong galactic presence nearby, and I think that Chas's I might change that name. Chas actually doesn't sound that good when I say it out loud. But yeah, that his family were first contact specialists.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think though that he rebelled against this upbringing.
So instead of that, you're looking for more tangible things to focus on, increasing your security 1 and either engineering or SciMed by 1.
Yeah, because I think while they talked about the responsibility of bringing civilization and first contact or whatever, all he really cared about was the fact that there was more out there, more places to see, more places to go.
Okay. And then a background stunt. And what this is choose a stunt related to one of the skills you have chosen at this stage. And you will find stunts with me. Unhide stunts. Stunts are broken down by skill, so command, con, engineering, insight, SciMed, security. But I've split con into ship stunts and personal stunts, just for clarity about where, so if you want to have something that's more ship focused, it's fairly straightforward which ones they are. I've done the same for engineering. And in the case of SciMed and Med-Sci, I leave it to you, Donna, to decide whether you're going to take one of the kind of cross-disciplinary ones that are there, or whether you want to focus this early on medical or science programming.
So we should be looking at stunts that are related to the skills that we chose during this.
This bit, yes.
Yeah, frustratingly, I got nowhere near con on any of my.
We will fine tune this. You will end up perfectly equipped to fulfill the task that you have on the ship. Don't worry about that. I think I started with you, Paul. What are you thinking? Oh, you are muted.
The 4th emergency service, you get +2 to engineering team. Actually, no, let's go with 4th emergency service.
Okay, bung that across. There we go. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. There it is. Okay. What about our science officer? Any thoughts?
Yes, I'm going to take the lab rat.
Okay. Okay. You prefer to spend most of your free time engaged in various side projects. Good, 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 good. Then what about our security chief?
I was thinking the precision targeting.
Okay, so that's a security ship stunt, isn't it? Oh, well, it applies to ships. There's not quite enough in security to shift it. Precision targeting, okay. Time on the holodeck using the bridge simulator.
Yep.
We can do that.
Yeah, is this just ship to ship battle then?
Yes. As the sun says, when you succeed at a phaser attack on another ship, you can spend a fate point to get +2 shifts of effect.
Mm-hmm. Let me change that to close protection.
Oh, that's an interesting one. What any senior officer is going to want on hand, a bodyguard. Medical officer, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking insightful guidance. Maybe maybe there's a bit of the emergency bartender subroutine going on too here.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish we hadn't already invented that. There we go, insightful guidance. And finally, round to our helm officer.
I note that one of the engineering stunts is the analyzer weakness thing. So maybe if that means that engineering is actually the one to use for the scan for weaknesses.
SciMed would be used to scan for weaknesses as the move from the bridge. Engineering allows the engineer to exploit an engineering flaw, I guess. But
as long as you're on the bridge is the words there. But anyway,
yes,
I'm bogged down in the thing there. So it's just tough because none of my things are actually like related to flying or like. But I will go with. I think I'll go with attack tactics, because when I succeed in a close combat or ranged attack, I can create a boost which the next character attack the same target can use, which seems like it could be quite useful, generally speaking.
doesn't it?
I like the idea of quick to action, but I find in internet-based play, anything that interrupts the sequence of actions tends to be a bit, hard to actually implement because it involves me unmuting myself and going, "Wait, shut up, let me do things," which I do anyway. So yeah.
Okay. The next then is a background aspect. And as it says on the background tab, how the character views their own culture, how they connect or don't to the philosophies and traditions of their people, and or the challenge they had integrating their own culture, philosophies and traditions, and or how their family's activities have influenced them. So something related to where you were brought up or programmed, what kind of connection you had in terms of a family background, and how you responded to that in terms of rebel or accept. And again, we will fine-tune these. This is very much first draft on aspects. Any thoughts?
Alan, would you mind opening up the species tab again?
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry, I hid it away because there's enough in this as it is, but there you go.
That's okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, I'd be inclined to observe for the doctor that, people are strange, and aliens aren't necessarily any stranger.
That's a cracking aspect. People are strange, and humans are strange, and aliens are no stranger. That's quite a good kind of open one. I can imagine invoking that against you to make you think that some vicious and dangerous alien is in fact no more dangerous than any other human.
So I took, and you'll tell me whether you think this is good. You can't live if you don't survive. Kind of a. I imagine that his world got hit by some kind of raiding group at some point, whether it was Gorn or another one of the species, and got captured. And I actually think it was, like, weirdly enough, Klingons attacking them that rescued. And so I had this weird sort of teenage years of being captured by aliens and then having to spend time with Klingons before I got sent back to the home worlds.
I go with that. Senior Helm Officer has gone for strange new worlds. That's such a simple tagline. They should make a TV program based on that tagline, shouldn't they?
Something like, yeah, but
So do you think, as part of that kind of that rebelling against your diplomatic upbringing, that they sat still and did first contact and you just wandered about?
Yeah, because I think that they were always more interested in the cultures and the civilizations, and the character, which I still need to rename, is more interested in the traveling, the getting there, the going on to the next place, rather than the long-term logical sort of exploitation of the connections and everything.
Okay. I'll hide the background details because we don't need those. We've picked up most of the stuff.
One thing is, Alan, my background stunt is set to
hang on. Have I got a broken already out broken
agency service rather than the one I actually wanted?
Okay.
I don't know where it's looking it up from, so
it's looking it up from right up the top there, so it ought to be picking it up from there. There we go. There you go. And that's probably true of all of them then. So let me just
I admire the automation, but I don't find it. We're just copying and pasting it into a cell.
Okay. So, what did you settle for in the end, our Andorian security office as chief? Words are stronger than blood. Okay.
Yep. Leaning into sort of an honor profile.
I'm with you. Okay. Let's see. So next, it's the academy. Each of you will follow a track through the academy related to your end role. So you will see the Helm Officer goes through the command track, focusing on con. Though you get the option of command if you really want it, but I think probably that our Helm Officer has a strong urge to have some con on his sheet. So again, that little box should be reasonably self-explanatory. You get to add one relating to your major, the track you're on, and you get to add another one in your subsidiaries. Yeah, and then pick a stunt related to your area. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
What is the maximum pluses we can have? What's the maximum pluses we can have?
You'll top out at 4. But we'll sort that out when we get to final tweaks.
Okay, thank you.
So for Academy, we're getting 2 +1s, one in our signature skill and one in another one.
Also add 1 to any other one skill you already have at 1 or more, your subsidiary area, yes. So you get to boost one you've already got, and you get 1 in your major, even if you don't have anything in it yet. So you'll get 1 in SciMed, and then 1 in one of the ones that isn't still 0. and they could be the same thing. So, for instance, our helm officer could get 1 in con, and then because he's behind, frankly, in terms of time in the simulator, he could then spend his subsidiary in con as well.
Good to me.
And then pick a stunt. Any stunt will do. A stunt related to one of the skills you've chosen due to your time in the academy.
Paul,
Yes.
would you be okay with me taking that rocks into replicators stunt?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I have kind of idea, so I just want to check in with you before I did that.
And then you're also going to come up with an aspect that somehow reflects your time at the academy. Or maybe your view of Starfleet, or something about Starfleet. I don't think I've started with R. Andorian. What are you thinking about your academy stunt, David?
I don't want to step on our helmsman's choice, but I was thinking of precision maneuvering.
You literally chose what I was going to take.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to spend no time at the helm at all.
Oh, but okay, because I increased my con.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. But if you choose that, you'll be choosing a stunt you'll never get to use, really. Well, yeah, only when our helm officer is incapacitated.
Because we will be.
Well, it says or yourself, so
yeah,
that
just to put it out that maneuvering was the one I called an
it's fine. Okay. There don't seem to be any, and correct me if I'm wrong, are there any like combat skills that don't involve the ship that I could take?
Yeah.
This
there is
just to the right of it on row C, on column C. They're all like heightened senses, you ignore situation modifiers, push the limits, ambush, hand-to-hand or rage combats, etc.
Okay, that's interesting because it says con personal, but I would.
I assumed you'd be looking out on column I, the security stunts, because you will have had to have taken one in security at this point.
I already took one of those, but they mostly seem to, like, the combat ones actually seem to be mostly stuck with the ship versus me acting as a security chief.
Cool
head. The same. Deadeye Marksman is the personal version of the precision targeting that you were looking at, which is the ship's one.
Hunker down, cool head. There's the kind of more investigative aspects of more investigative aspects of security in terms of criminal minds, bad cop, lead investigator.
Hang on.
Martial artist, mean right hook.
Let's see. For some reason, I didn't see those, so thank you for pointing those out.
In fact, most of them aren't ship, actually.
All right. Yeah, apparently I just didn't scroll. Yeah, I'm going to choose the martial artist.
Okay. That's fine. Bung that across. And what about, we've got our Chief Medical Officer speculating on a solution. Yeah, good solid one, that. And And what about Helm then?
I will take precision maneuvering.
Makes sense.
You're filling those in, right, as we go?
Yeah, I'll pull that one across. That's not a problem. Yeah, where's she gone?
Should we define the Starfleet aspect here at the same time?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah. While your path through the what's the right way of saying it? Something to do with like logic. So I think like what makes him a great pilot is that he is very calm and rational and everything, but what he's had to balance is that like so much of logic cannot fully replace intuition, maybe, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, learning to fly, like flying is as much about,
it's an intuitive thing sometimes.
Yeah. Logic cannot entirely cannot replace intuition.
You invoke.
Say again, Paul.
Aspects are sort of things you invoke, so you might be better, Will, with go with the gut feeling. That's easily invocable. Where the thing you said before, that's a hard thing to invoke.
Yeah. Go with my gut. It's only logical.
There you go.
There you go. I'm assuming everyone knows what a sapper is. Do we know what a sapper is?
Go and beat yourself up.
I only know what sapper is due to World War II games, so.
David,
not the books of the Malazan Fallen, you know.
Did you focus in? It was martial arts. Did you focus on? Did you go for martial arts in the end, David? I couldn't quite remember.
I'm sorry. I'm still not satisfied with that. So just go ahead and skip me for now. Okay.
And so we got a couple of Starfleet aspects. What are you thinking, medical officer, for your view of Star Trek, your Starfleet, and or concerns about it?
I mean, I wonder if, you know, as a hologram, you're hanging around a lot, or so people think, with nothing to do. And I think a lot of people might use you as a sounding board, given that they think you have nothing better to be doing than just listening to their troubles. So, I think that might be positive and negative, right?
Okay.
What's a good way to write that, though?
I suppose it depends how you want to come at it. I mean, one way to think about this is, as Paul suggests, think about a situation where you would want it to apply. And then that can sometimes help you think about the words and the phrasing you want. What is your intention with that aspect? And again, we'll refine these, in play.
I mean, if I was describing it, I would be like a natural board, but maybe it's something like has heard it all before.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Try that one, and we'll come back and tinker it. David, what are you any further on with that stunt?
Yeah. So, is it okay if we change our background stunt as well?
You can do. What have you got in mind? What are you thinking of doing?
All right. For my Starfleet one, I'm actually wondering if I feel like it should be more Starfleet, fictionally placed. So I was thinking of like Starship experts, unless someone else had that as their go-to.
So hang on, let me find that. Is that an engineering one?
That's the con personal.
Oh right, a con one. Yeah, fine. I mean, Will, you got
Starfleet?
Any urge to be a Starship expert?
No. Feel free.
Okay.
Flying. That's all I
Okay,
really want
cool.
to do.
And then for my background one, oh man, either heighten senses or push the limits. Both of those sound kind of cool from an Andorian perspective.
Okay.
I guess heighten senses. We'll go with that.
You'll have to point me where that is. Is it in insight?
It is under con personal stunts.
Oh, right. Okay. Sticking with con. Okay.
Yeah. Those seem to have a lot of really interesting options for my character.
Okay. So you're going to pop that into your background. Sorry. So yeah,
Yes.
I've got lost now. I don't know what's going where. What do you want to do with you had close protection as your background stunt. What do you want there?
I was thinking about changing that with the heightened senses.
Okay, we'll do that. There you go. And then what are you putting down in your academy stunt?
The Starship one.
Yeah, I've lost track of which one though. Starship Expert. Yeah? Is that the one? Okay.
Yes,
Fine.
please.
Okay.
Yes.
And we're 5 to the hour, so I'm going to suggest we take our first break. If you haven't kind of given any thought yet to your Starfleet aspect, it would be good to have that nailed down by the time we get back. And then we'll move on to the rest of your career at, shall we say, 5 past the hour. Okay? See you then. Okay. So back from our break, and now we move on to your previous career in Starfleet. I think I am going to start with our Chief Medical Officer and work around from there. So, career event. There's a career tab that I've unhidden, and this is a straightforward D20, and there's one in the dice room. There's a 10. Okay, what's down there at 10? Transporter accident. Well, that's interesting. So
Is this why we have an emergency medical help?
maybe I mean that's a lovely idea, that in fact you were human, and you are now genuinely part hologram. I love that idea, but you tell me. The character suffered some manner of strange accident while using the transporter. Give that a bit of thought, because I'll have some questions for you in a bit, right? But in the meantime, skills. The character is cautious and careful after their experiences, increasing engineering by 1. The experience means the character takes shuttles more often than the transporter, increasing con by 1.
I mean, I imagine the first one makes a little bit more sense.
Oh, you get both of them.
Oh, okay. I mean, why would I be taking shuttles, given that I'm a hologram?
Well, maybe we can install. It looks like we're going to have to install some holo emitters in the shuttlecraft, aren't we? And I'll have some questions for you in a bit. There's some questions down at the bottom of that number 10 that I'll come and ask you in a bit. Let's go around to Helm. What's happened to you? Your first posting out of the academy. What could go wrong?
I rolled a 20.
A 20. First contact. The big one.
Following in his parents' footsteps.
The irony of it.
Yes. Now this may be something of a stretch, perhaps, but could I say the Borg?
First contact with the Borg, not unreasonable at all.
Maybe served on the Enterprise during that period.
I think it's going to be too late to be first contact with the Borg, isn't it? Because it's going to be the Borg. The Borg first come on the scene the thick end of 15 years ago. Nobody quite knows they're there. But yeah, go on the Enterprise. What the hell?
Or the sort of reformed Borg later.
Ooh, there's an interesting possibility.
I was actually thinking of the Battle of Wolf.
359.
Yeah, which I'd say is really the actual first contact with the Borg, because otherwise the Enterprise is at the whim of a godlike entity, right? They don't really make first contact with the Borg. They just encounter them and then bugger off. Whereas the Federation's actual first contact with the Borg is when they murder all of them.
Okay. The only slight difficulty with that, because if you read what it means by first contact, it means literally first contact. That and if you look at the skills on offer, it's difficult to see that coming out of a combat encounter as part of a battle. Do you see what I mean?
What culture did I make contact with? Oh, did it go well? No. How does it connect me to another character? I was one of the crew who managed to pull Paul's character away from the collective.
Okay, so insight by 1 and increase any other one skill by 1. Conceivably con.
Yeah. Conceivably con or command, since we're so low on. But I'll probably go with con, yeah.
Okay.
But does that all work? Because that's what made me lean towards it more, as I was thinking about, reform Borg are probably almost certainly going to be people who are rescued by Starfleet from the Borg,
Yeah, fine. Yeah, I can live with that. I live with that. Chief of Operations, what's your first assignment?
Roll that dice. 4.
Oh, wow. Where's that? On a 4. Negotiated treaty. The character was part of a delegation that helped negotiate a treaty, agreement, or alliance with a culture outside the Federation. You'll need to decide at what, presumably you will have been, you'll have a Starfleet career that ends to an extent with your absorption by the Borg, and now you are rescued. So this is pre your capture by the Borg. There she blows. The carrier's familiarity with the realpolitik of diplomacy increases their command by 1. Their familiarity with diplomacy and negotiation increases their insight by 1. The thoughtful freed Borg. Science officer, what's going on in your life?
12.
12, where's that?
Not good. Character is placed in a situation where they have to choose between trust your superior and their own ideals and chose to follow their superior.
Oh, I mean, do you want that one? Because we worked that one to death in a previous series. I don't want to hold you to that one.
I may re-roll that one
because we've kind of explored that maybe.
What is 18?
18 is solved an engineering crisis.
Okay.
Go with that.
All right, I like that.
Okay, solved an engineering crisis. Ending a crisis caused by malfunctioning technology and saved many lives in the process. Patience when dealing with complex technology increases your command by 1, and your familiarity with technology increases your engineering by 1. Security chief, what's going on in your life in Starfleet?
I rolled a 16. Discovered an artifact.
Ooh, went the crowd. Discovered an artifact.
Yeah. During a survey mission, discovered device or fragment of tech from a now extinct civilization.
Now, if I had any sense, I'd make this alphabetical. Where is that? Which number is it? Which
16.
number, David? Oh, there it is, 16.
Am I looking at the wrong chart? Or should
should
this be conflict with a hostile culture, or should this...
What did you roll?
You're right, it's 16.
Yeah, 16. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Discovered an artifact. There it is. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. And your benefits are skill. Character studies of the technology produce numerous theories, including increasing PsyMed by 1. and you are more able to understand unfamiliar technology, increasing engineering by 1. Job's a good one. What I'd suggest is that we go around both the careers and then worry about the aspects and how we can tie them together, maybe. Yeah. I think I started with our. There we go. And let me go back to starting with our engineering officer ops. Paul, roll the dice and let's see what else happened prior to your absorption by the Borg.
Here we go.
What do we got? A 3. Lauded by another culture. Wow, negotiated a treaty, lauded by another culture. Involved in a mission that earned the official praise of a non-Federation culture. They are now considered to be a friend of that people. Your standing and renown increases your insight by 1, and your broader understanding of the universe increases your PsyMed by 1. Who'd have thought it? And then we move along to our science officer.
All right, let me roll that die. We already seen 6. What do we got for 6?
What is 6?
Encounter with a truly alien being.
Which science officer would turn their nose up at that?
No, not me, usually. Life form which is truly alien, very comprehensible. I like it. So increase PsyMed by 1 and insight by 1.
Indeed. And we'll come back and ask some questions about that in a bit. So Daisy, before I lose track of that. There we go. Security. Roll them dice again.
I got the same result.
Oh well, roll again. When we know, I mean,
So,
another artifact.
yeah,
That's just
exactly.
greedy.
Unless I'm just a hoarder. I got 11, which is dealing with a plague.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Pop that one across. Don't think we've had any plague yet. I mean, I need to be a bit careful, folks. Are we okay with aspects of plague and infection? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'll pop that across.
Yep.
There she goes. Whoops. Those down there. Okay. Medical officer. What else has gone on in your complicated semi-holographic life?
Whatever 5 is required to take command.
Oh, wow. We love that. Required to take command. Characters needs to improvise during the crisis. Con goes up by 1, and increasing characters' insight by 1.
I mean, maybe that the plague knocked everyone for 6. Who knows?
And finally, background to our Vulcan Helm Officer. What else has gone on in your life, Visal?
3.
3. We got lauded by another culture. I think we've got that one in play. Do you want to try again?
18. Have we had that?
Solved an engineering crisis. As our science officer solved an engineering crisis? Yeah.
11.
You're nailing all of them. Dealing with a plague. We've had that one as well. What have we got left? There must be 10 of them left.
6.
6. Encounters with a truly. Yeah, we've got that one.
Okay.
We did.
4. Negotiate. We've already got.
We've got that one. Yeah,
Okay.
we've got that one.
6 again. Let's roll again.
Roll 1.
I tell you what we could do. We could roll a 10, and I could just count down missing the other ones.
An 8, which is kind of what I already chose anyways with my first contact.
Well, I mean, this might be Borg. This might be Wolf 359.
Yeah. It just seems to increase both of your security by 2.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Okay.
Can I just choose, given that I've rolled through my way through the entire thing?
All right then. What do you want?
I want to go.
Never satisfied.
The ship the character was serving on was lost, destroyed during a mission, and the character was one of the few who survived.
Yes.
Okay, number 1.
Yes. Thank you.
There we go. Okay. Pop that down.
So everyone else needs to re-roll new characters now because
Yep.
We were just destroyed.
Okay.
Starship Traveler.
What we should find is a set of questions down the bottom now related to those career activities. Oh, medical officer, I seem not to have put your questions down there. I forget. Forgive me. Transport accident required to take command. Why did I miss that? Escape. Where's required? Oh, this would be so much easier if I put these in alphabetical order, wouldn't it? There it is.
it's number 5.
Yeah, there she goes.
Actually, I have a question about that. It says increase con due to having to take command.
That must be a misprint.
Yeah.
Increase command.
That's what I reckoned.
Yeah. So that's the transporter accident, and then take command is up there, isn't it? Oh, bugger me, I can't find that now. Which number was required to take command?
5.
5. Of course it is. Obvious once you know. There we go. So I think then I'll start with our medical officer because it's been a while since I started at that end. Transporter, what happened to the character during the accident? Were there lasting repercussions? How does the character feel about transporters now? How does this connect you to another character?
While I guess it may have been, tempting to think of a real person who was killed in a transporter accident and then replaced with the EMH. I wonder if there was an away team who were in medical trouble and the nature of their injuries meant they couldn't be transported back. So there was like a temporary medical center set up down on planet, and that required us to transport down. And I think after that, I went a bit glitchy.
Okay.
Something in the air didn't agree with me.
Some small part of you was left in the pattern buffer.
Yeah.
Okay. And when it says how does this connect you to another character, just sit on that for a moment. It could be that it connects you to a kind of character. So maybe it isn't one of these, but maybe it's the engineering officer who failed to keep that transporter up to snuff. And therefore maybe you have suspicions of engineering officers or some, it needn't be to one of these precise characters. It can be a type.
And I wouldn't mind because I have something I want to connect up to the EMH if it was me that was trapped on planet. Just to throw that out.
Yeah, that works for me. As in one of the injured crewmen. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to me. Yeah.
Was that linked to your encounter with a truly alien being, I wonder? But I'll come around and ask that question in a bit. Well, shall I ask that question now?
So the thing that I have is I have that solved an engineering crisis. What I picture is, so the concept I have for the character is he is very much kind of a material science fabrication maker kind of scientist thing, likes making things and like building models and putting things together. He doesn't like engines or anything big like that, but he likes doing all that micro level stuff. And I had this idea that during a particularly dangerous operation in troubled environments, the sensor arrays got damaged and they couldn't be repaired or done from inside. And I had to go out and essentially fabricate on the spot and like actually get in there with little space tweezers and get it in the thing. And the only person who could go with me to kind of give me insight and help, because the comms and sensors being down, was the EMH. Had to like be, I'm in a spacesuit and the EMH is out there kind of checking and making sure
there.
your vital signs are getting a little high. Is that okay, Donna?
Yeah, that sounds brilliant.
Great.
Well, do you want to begin to phrase a relationship aspect that kind of tries to capture some of that then, Lowell, for Rusu Kinek?
Yeah. Let's see, that goes back up.
I mean, just think about it, put something in. Don't sweat it at this point.
I think I'm actually going to put my buddy, the EMH, like I think that we're friends. Like I really do. Like I presume too much about the relationship. Is that okay?
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Helm, let's come around to you then. So let's deal with what your first contact. Are we sticking with the Borg for that one, or are you going to shift the Borg to your ship destroyed, or what are you thinking?
I like the Borg being that one.
Okay.
Because I think it was less so much the combat incident as I think it was I don't know how we're pronouncing chief of our Borg member's name, but Steet
733T.
733T. As the crew rolls off the tongue, I think that it was more about having first contact with that alien, and then recognizing the lost Starfleet member that was underneath it, and so it was more about that kind of like, no, it's not just Picard. There are more of them who can be saved. So I like that one.
Yeah. So do you want to begin to phrase a relationship aspect that links you to our chief of operations?
Yeah, because the two of them, aren't there? So relationship aspect, maybe I don't know, like no sentient is truly lost, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I mean it that might be quite tricky. Think of a situation where you could invoke that.
Yeah.
Seems quite narrow.
Look beyond appearances, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that having more general use. Which brings us to our chief of operations. You negotiated a treaty. What culture was the treaty with? What was it for? How does this connect you to another character? What do you envisage as that event, Paul?
Oh, wait, can I rephrase mine? Sorry. Resistance is not futile.
Okay, I'll do my best with invocations around that one. But so, Ops, what are you thinking?
I think negotiate a treaty. I think that was an Andorian colony that, as the Borg, we subjugated.
Oh, go on! Open. Just open the box on that a bit more for me.
Well, that helped negotiate a treaty arrangement or alliance. So basically, we arrived at an Andorian colony world and began assimilation.
It's a novel way to think about your experience, but yeah, go for it. So write something down in the answers, because I won't remember that by the time we play session 1. In terms of trying to build back on that, and then I'm guessing, does this does this have an impact on your relationship with our security chief? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, and I'll let the security chief decide whether that's a positive or a negative.
Well, I think it's your
I think
aspect,
at
so
the
it's for
start
you
of
to say.
play. Yeah.
I just let me be clear. It's
Yeah,
your
go for
aspect,
it.
Paul. So you really need to phrase it.
Yeah, I think I was able to save some Andorians.
Okay, and so how do you think that? What view does that give you to Andorians in general, or our security chief in particular?
I think it's more general. Other species maybe worth something more.
And was that because you were resisting Borg programming,
I think
or
so,
did you
yeah.
find yourself, in the sense of, what is it, 1 of 5 or 7 of 9, isolated from the collective and not receiving the signals?
No, I think it's more that underlying that there was always some resistance. I was never completely subjugated.
Fine. Well, if you can come up with something that ties all of that into Andorians in general, or a security chief in particular, go ahead and give it a shot. We've dealt with our science officer. I come to security. Discovered an artifact.
Mm-hmm.
What did this piece of technology do? Does it still function? What is known about the civilization that made it? How does this connect you to another character? Start with a simple question.
So I
What
was
did it
thinking
do?
of the artifact is something. Yeah. I was thinking that the artifact either acts as a detection or activation of like wormholes.
Okay, I think detection would be less likely to break the universe. So
Yeah.
it
No,
could
fair.
it senses wormholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If you want to bung that down as in the answer slot down there on row 65. So it senses wormholes. Does it still function?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay. And do we know anything about the civilization that made it?
I think not yet, but I'd like to have this be connected to another character.
Go
It's
on.
like maybe an ongoing project background. Yeah.
Okay.
So are there any characters who think that this might pique their interest?
I mean, your obvious are
Yeah.
ops and science, but I
Yeah.
think your
Okay,
helm officer is very keen.
Awesome.
For a wormhole.
So this is
I
like
think a most challenging outcome. If one was unstable, the difficulty would be extremely challenging and most rewarding.
So if David, you can put just a quick kind of summary of that in that answer slot. So we've got an aid memoir stuck on the board, and then you can think about how this would turn into an aspect, a relationship aspect between you and Helm. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think then that takes me to career event 2. I started last time with the EMH. Let me go all the way back round and start with Helm. Helm. Ship destroyed. What was the ship's mission? Was it something routine that went horribly wrong, or was it something perilous? What destroyed the ship? How many survivors were there? How long did it take before they were recovered? How does this connect you to another character?
I think it was let's see, what are the other people's life choices? So I'm connected to the security chief via that. I think that what it was it was something that seemed routine. It was a simple supply mission where we encountered a rogue asteroid field, and what destroyed the ship was the pilot's overconfidence.
The pilot.
Not me. I was before. I was the pilot of the ship, obviously. So I've learned from somebody else's mistakes.
Okay. And how do you think that might connect you into somebody else?
I think that we drifted in space until the chief of operations ship was able to come and give us emergency repairs and tow us back to.
I go with that. It's just that gives you kind of two connections to 733T.
Oh God, yeah. Sorry, that's the wrong one, isn't it? Sorry. I think that the only way, you know what? I think that the only way it was just lucky that the crystalline there was a crystalline entity in the nearby sector, allowing our distress signal to be picked up by our Senior Science Officer.
You're content for this to be a fairly routine collision rather than a collision with a crystalline entity.
Hey, you know what? Why don't we go for that one? I was on the partner ship investigating the crystalline entity, and our pilot got too cocky, too close, and was destroyed by the crystalline entity for their hubris. And we were rescued by the science officer's ship, by Rusu Kinik's ship.
Fine, just a couple of sentences or a couple of phrases just to patch that together. Can I pick up on the truly alien being then, just to nail that one tight, Lowell?
Yeah, so I think that this is another crystalline entity. It's not the same one we've seen before. It's a variant. It looks very much like it. Like that raises a whole bunch of questions about that, and that's sort of out there. But I think that having this encounter and this destructive encounter has made Koenig fascinated with the idea of material sciences, but even more importantly, kind of obsessed with inorganic life, like that concept. And that kind of like loosely connects up to the EMH, but more also to the Borg. Like that's an obsession he has now. Is with that, like the Horta from the Something in the Dark episode of original series.
Yeah.
So that's
it's like Jim, okay? But not as we know it.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's where that quote comes from. So yeah, and if you can come up with a relationship aspect that looks both ways, that's fine. So sorry, I jumped. Chief of Ops, lauded by another culture. What culture was aided by this mission? What was the mission? Why was it particularly praiseworthy? Does the character have any friends or contacts in that culture who can be contacted for help? How does this connect you to another character?
Yeah, basically, I released myself from the Borg control while on the Andorian planet, got a few survivors off, and then fled to Federation space, pursued by the Borg. Just as the ship was on its last legs, picked up by a Federation, gave them some good insight to the Borg, so was lauded and praised by the Federation.
Oh, I like that. How are we going to tie that together with the suggestion that Vassal rehabilitated?
Well, yeah, the character I'm linking to is Vassal.
Okay.
So he came to my ship was running low on life support. He came to my character.
I'm just curious. Did the Borg follow you to Wolf 359?
I think so. Yeah, that was the precursor to it.
Oh my goodness. Just as well you had plenty of Andorian survivors on board, isn't it?
Indeed.
Okay, again, bung something in the answers to just try and summarize that, and then think about an aspect that ties back across. And then we're getting close then to dealing with a plague security. What was the disease that was running rampant? Feel free to invent a space plague. What planet was it affecting, or what kind of planet? Did the character deal directly with the sick, or were you more about, I don't know, maybe security was necessary to control rioting as a result of this? I don't know. How was the character involved? How does this connect you to another character?
So I think one of the characters involved would probably be the Doctor, the image.
Okay.
Given that medical science is their forte, but it could be other characters. I didn't have a planet in mind. My sense of Star Trek is not as large, so I'm
settle for a kind of planet. Was this an isolated colony?
Whatever.
Was this a populous kind of pick what you'd like to imagine in some flashback?
Yeah, so let's go with some sort of like a paradise planet, right?
Oh.
Like a holiday paradise planet that was rife with, oh man, this might be too close to real life. But anyways, a planet that had a lot of tourism and people there all over. And yeah, I think that in terms of people trying to get off planet when there was a quarantine, so that definitely some security issues involved there, but also managing all of the symptoms. If any of us on our ship got the contagion or whatever it was. So my idea for an aspect for that I think is in conflict with my character would be something along the lines of, where do I put it?
I see it.
You can't save them all.
Yeah. Ooh, you can't save them all, Doctor. Yeah, I like that. If you just want to put some words down in that answer slot underneath plague, just for us to have some words and phrases to pin that to, would be great. Yep. And finally, I am fascinated to know the circumstances in which our EMH was required to take command. What was the mission? What went wrong? Was the mission successful despite the loss of the leader? How does this connect you to another character? Now, I'd stress, this doesn't necessarily mean take command of a starship, but take command of the mission. What are you thinking, Donna?
Yeah, but I'm not leaving this starship ever again, transporter or not, Yeah, I wonder if there was something like an away mission, which was really just a diplomatic meeting, which went awry, and then I had to run it. Maybe doing maybe guiding some junior staff who wouldn't be otherwise respected through the various protocols, for my original posting right back on Earth.
Of course, yeah, all that diplomacy finally came out.
Yeah, maybe a bit of maybe a bit of Monday night, well, not Monday night quarterbacking, but tacit communicator quarterbacking to guide them through it.
Yeah, works for me. How do you think this ties you to some other member of the senior staff?
I think someone must have come up with the general playbook for this mission originally. Maybe your chief of operations, given that they are quite the diplomat.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, so maybe I was just following her playbook while undertaking the mission, because obviously, like Alexa, I'm listening to everything that happens on board the ship.
Yes, yeah. Everyone keeps getting, Rusu keeps getting, tiny micro models of different bits of Federation equipment. Fine, great. So that broadly then, so far, are our characters. If you're looking, have we got some? Yeah, we got some. So we're getting close to finishing touches then. Now, finishing touches, make sure that you are fitted to the role that you've chosen to be. So if the character doesn't have +4 in their defining skill, so con for helm, engineering for ops, security for security, SciMed for science, SciMed, MedSci for medicine, what you do is you reduce one of the skills you have at 3 by 1 to boost your defining skill by 1. And then if you've got another one at 3, you reduce that one to boost until you've got 4 in that defining skill. So perhaps the simplest way is to illustrate, because we know we have this with
I've just done it. I've just changed
done
my
it. Fine.
security from
Okay.
3 to 2 and then moved it across to con.
So in the case of science then, currently SciMed is 3 and engineering is 3. The way that plays is SciMed goes up by 1, engineering goes down by 1. Then in the case of security, security goes up by 1 to 4. And then you take your pick, David. Is it con, SciMed, or insight that's going to drop by 1 to allow that?
I'm going to reduce SciMed to 1.
Okay. Okay. And we've got our Chief Medical Officer sitting on that. If we've got this right, they should end up with 11 scattered across those 6 skills. Yeah. The only other bit of tweaking then is academy graduates of the science track get medical at 2 less than their SciMed. So Lowell, you just might want to put in brackets behind SciMed, med +2. So you're good at the theory, but you have you can turn that into some practical medical experience. Likewise, the medical track, you're very good at medicine, but your science, so you might Donna, after med sci is +4, you might want to put sci +2. Because it's not, you're not as generally well educated as your science. And then rank. Now, the captain, our non-player character captain, who we'll come to in a moment, is going to be a commander, because this ship is not big enough for a full captain. So we need to decide who's going to be number 1. So number 1 will be the person with the highest command. Who is...
Nicole hologram.
Our medical officer is number 1. Congratulations.
That seems perfectly reasonable, obviously.
Absolutely. I will just move the XO slot up to you. There we go. Congratulations, number 1. What a joy.
Test ship then for like...
It looks like it.
Yeah, maybe like, I know Voyage is the one that ends up having to do it, right? But we're the ones who are like, we've expanded this particular medical
exactly
full time.
You are actually the test bed by the look of it. And how your chief of operations is going to keep this number, what do you do if number 1 goes offline? There's going to be some argument about who steps into that seat. Okay. It's great because it means that there is a slot on the bridge for everybody. So the only other thing then is to just check down on row 27, stress. All of you start with 3 stress, a stress track of 3. You then look at which is the higher, command or security. And depending on which is higher, if it's 1 or 2, you get 1 extra stress box. If it's 2 to 4, you get 2 stress boxes, and it won't be 5. So to illustrate, 2 in security for our Helm Officer generates an extra stress box. There's a single stress track that covers psychological and physical harm. Likewise, there's an extra slot for our engineering officer based on security. Likewise, our science officer. Security 4, unsurprisingly, generates a chunky Andorian. And then our holograms capacity to resist harm is also 4, based on that solid core of sheer willpower wrapped up in command. Congratulations, number 1. I'm going to suggest we take a pause then, because we're going to come back and rough out the ship, by which I mean rough out the captain, really. Okay? So it's 10 to the hour now. I'm going to suggest we come back together at 5 to the hour. Is that... Oh, that's not very... Yeah, no, that's long enough. Yeah, 5 to the hour. I'll see you then. So we have our bridge crew, our significant cast members. The question now is something about the ship and the captain. So let me start with our science officer. Lowell, which species do you want the captain to be? I've come to you largely because you have a pretty encyclopedic memory for some of Star Trek species. So, you know, it could be one of the ones that's on the species tab. I'll just, you know, it's still there if you want a reminder, but... Oh, you are muted. Yeah.
I actually like the idea of with the spots.
Brill.
Yeah, I like a captain who's adjoined, like
Join Trill.
yeah, has gone through that, has multiple centuries of experience, which also makes them perhaps a little more hands-off with the crew because they kind of trust them to get things done.
Yeah, just to explain how this will work, you will each get a chance to kind of play the captain, depending on circumstances. You know, so when the captain is interested in what the sensors are saying, then, you know, Rusu, you will decide what the captain wants to know, and so on. So a joined Trill, oh, that's interesting. So the captain's aspect is going to have joined Trill in it somewhere. Let's go the other way for a change. I keep going one direction. Let's go a different way. Paul, tell me something about this captain, some characteristic of this captain.
He's partially cybernetic.
With cybernetic implants. So our starting captain's aspect, and we can tweak this in play to see how it works. Join Trill captain with cybernetic implants. I've no idea whether in canon that is possible, but it is now.
Could I suggest cybernetic limbs?
Cybernetic limbs?
Yeah, be a bit more concrete rather than, because he's already got something special inside of him, right? So how about something externally, sort of thing?
Can I go with a cybernetic limb? Because otherwise he begins to look too much like our chief of operations, to be honest.
Yeah. Let's maybe a leg. Maybe they lost a leg at some point.
Cybernetic leg, better and better. Let's just keep that kind of as to mull over, see if we're going to enrich that in any way. In terms of our ship helm, this is a newly refitted Nova class. So one of the newest classes off the, post Wolf, design was already well on the way to being turned into real ships by the time of Wolf 359. And looks like that. Crew of 80. Only 15 officers, so quite a tight community. My opening bid was newly refitted Nova class Explorer, but given what you came up with this idea of technological test bed, I don't know whether you want to kind of tinker with that, Will.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like that. So it's Explorer plus qualifier, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So is there a name Like experimental explorer, maybe?
Newly refitted Nova class explorer and technical test bed.
Yeah.
Working title? It's a bit clumsy at this point, but I'm sure we can
Well, I was thinking
of it.
newly refitted, experimental Nova class explorer.
Okay, one of a kind. That would fit with an idea I got for a plot, at least. Okay, use that for now. Okay, let me come round to our medical officer. Number one, what's the ship's flaw? Because this sounds like a cracker, but what's not great about it?
I wonder if it is cramped. There's a lot less. Even the corridors here are narrower than they ought to be in a normal Nova class, just because of all of the gadgetry that's in the hall.
They've had to build in some extra Jeffries tubes. And where would you put
Indeed.
them? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not bothered by this, but the crew morale, I think, is affected.
So yeah, do you want to somehow link that physical crampedness to something about the crew?
I mean, everyone's in their pockets, right? Like, I think it can be a positive and a negative. Everyone knows each other's business. Kind of almost like an old school ship.
I kind of when you talked about cramped, I kind of leaped to submarines, I guess. A crew living in one another's pockets is what I'm offering up.
Yeah.
Is that start for 10? Okay. Now the mission aspect will vary with the mission. But I need a name. So what do you think, security? Now, if you click on the current next to NCC 724-, you'll see how the other Nova class have been named. Do you want to go with that convention, or is this the beginning actually of a new class which doesn't follow the naming conventions? What are you thinking, David?
I like the idea of a test naming convention.
Okay. What do you have a?
Maybe it's.
It has to sound good with USS in front of it.
This.
I mean, there's other types of star names out there, like Red. What's the name for a small red star? I don't know.
The colors.
Well, you got the first experiment that was conducted at CERN was the Athena project.
Ooh.
Yeah.
In 2005.
That's very Earth-centric.
But don't you find that Starfleet, there was a period when Starfleet sat with Phaser, when you had a whole load of Andorian designs for starships. Suddenly, we're all back with naming them after bits of human history. I mean, does that offend the Andorian? Do you want it? I'm offering you a veto on Athena, David.
The other thing we could name it after would be like, I don't think Athena would work, but we could go with who's the designer of this ship, right? That's a common trope too.
Oh, wow.
Right? Who's like the architect of this ship?
The USS Montgomery.
I'm fine with something like that.
It couldn't be a Latal, could it?
No, I know exactly where Latal is.
In game.
Yeah. Well, Montgomery is a reference to Scotty, obviously. Montgomery Scott is
Is that the way you spell Montgomery? No, that can't be the way that you spell Montgomery.
Got a T in it.
There's a T
There must
in
be a
there
T
at
in
least.
it.
You're missing your T.
Yeah,
There you
yeah,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, and I need now again the
Sure.
number conventions. We're
Mike,
at least 724. How high do you want to go? Or do you want to go to 75?
Let's do 7.5.
Pick a number, Science.
3.
I think
Pick a number, Ops.
2.
Make that a bit smaller. Right, the USS Montgomery, NCC 72532. Launched early 2370. And on its maiden voyage from the Mars Yard, en route to Farius 8B, actually, as we speak. But that is our ship. That is our captain. I will look out for a Trill captain's picture. You can pick your own pictures. I won't force your hand on that. But I think I'd like to have first dibs on the captain.
Yeah.
And I think that means we're ready to roll for session 1 in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All that's left is if you go to safety and links. I was quite taken, Lowell, by your palette, and I want to just give everyone a chance to have a go at what we'd like to see and what we're less interested in. So I started with Lowell last time, going left. That means Paul. Is there anything you would particularly like to see, or anything you're particularly less interested in?
Yeah, I'd like to see a singing episode where we all have to sing. I'm just kidding. I'd like to see a bit of humour, actually.
So kind of, I'm not good at humor. I'll be honest with you in terms of setting up situations for that.
Light,
occasional light tone.
Yeah, light
Yeah?
tone.
Okay. Occasional. Oh, can't spell any of those words.
You're typing like me.
Exactly, with all 10 thumbs. Helm. Anything you'd like to see or not like to, or less interested in, Will?
I think back to our last game in terms of not just completely repeating myself. I think what I would like to see is Worlds in Peril.
Worlds in Peril. Ooh, okay. Round we go to CMO, Donna. Things you like to see or things you're less interested in?
I think we had maybe the plan has changed. We wanted some Dominion / Cold War vibes. So yeah, I'm happy with all of that. If we're going to keep it on the front burner.
Okay, Dominion Cold War. We're setting this in that bit of space. We've had that chat previously, so I'm happy with that. I'd be really disappointed if we went somewhere else now, I'd be honest, given my free thinking. That takes me round to security. Anything you'd particularly like to see, David?
I would like to see some dramatic tension in the crew.
Okay, try to pitch for that. And that brings me, I think, to science.
Yeah,
Lowell,
I would
what are
like
you
to.
interested?
I'd like to see at least once we get a good riff or reference to an original series episode.
Ooh, now that opens a whole box of tricks, doesn't it? Is that why you've taken rocks into replicators?
Maybe.
How else are you going to take down a Gorn?
Fair enough.
I'm going to put one on here, because this hack originates principally because I hate the starship combat in Star Trek Adventures. So love it or hate it, you're going to get starship combat. I tell you that. So far, things then we're less interested in. Let me go round in the reverse direction, which I think means that I start not with me but with you, Lord.
So for like, gosh, how do I put this? I'm a little tired of stories that are like, okay, like, can we question their humanity, or is this person have a right to be human? Those kinds of like weird legal stories we sometimes get in Star Trek. Those are a little bit less interesting to me unless they've got a real twist to them.
I mean, I will just put on the table here. We've got a freed Borg and a number one hologram.
That's true.
I'm going to assume that no, but let me be clear. What I think you're saying to me is that we don't want a story that revolves around, is the CMO justifiably first officer or not?
Yeah.
Does he deserve?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the perfect thing. Like, I'd like us to take it for granted that is the case, unless that player wants to bring out those stories.
Fine. And likewise, I'm thinking of our freed Borg. We're going to start from the assumption that the free book that Paul, that your character is fine. No one questions their status. Yeah.
Unless those players decide that that's a thing that they want to do.
Fine. Yeah, fine. Let me keep going that direction, go back. I'm lost track which direction I'm going on. That means security. Anything you're less interested in seeing, David?
Yep. I don't know if this is a problem in these kinds of games, but I am less interested in a black and white good guy, bad guy. So I think that more of the grays leads or connects to Cold War feelings generally.
Actually, I'm going to put that over in things you'd like to see, which is grays, not black and white, because that's easier for me to kind of operationalize, I think.
Sure. Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, that works for me. Let me go from security, heading in that direction takes me to the CMO. Donna, anything you are less interested in?
I know if we're operating closer to kind of canon and an actual established plot line, I don't think we should be operating in the DS9 or whatever shadow. We should be, I guess, the main characters of our own campaign, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that was going to be likely, but
no, that's very fair. Beyond the shadow of DS9, etc. I just want to check. Does that mean we don't want to see any DS9 canon characters?
I guess I'm not particularly concerned about seeing them, but yeah, I think maybe they get involved at the end of our missions or something like that. But we're not the also rounds.
Yeah, no, I get that. Takes me around to Helm. Will, anything that you're particularly keen not to see, or you're less interested in?
I have no interest in a Q episode.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no Q. Yeah.
I love Q. It's good.
Yeah, but yes, the Deus Ex Machina, which is Q. No. That takes me to Ops, Paul.
No time travel.
I'm glad you said that because I just don't know how to do time travel well. We have no mechanics for it, and I don't want to start playing Fate of Cthulhu. If only we had headed off the Borg before. So yeah, I go with that. And I think that brings me to science. Was there anything else, either less interested in or one actively to see? Last time asking this, I mean, we'll tweak this, give it some thought. I'll run round each of you one more time. David, anything else to add?
I'm not partial to holodeck episodes. That might just be a personal thing. But if we want to do that because we have a hologram doctor, I'm totally fine with that.
I think there's a difference between a mission set in a holodeck and having a holodeck to be part of our background. Yeah, but what I'm hearing there is we don't want we're not necessarily pitching at a mission set inside a holodeck or fighting to get out of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I want to make sure I'm not stepping on
treading on
Donna
toes
or anything like that. Okay.
Donna, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, just because I'm playing a holographic character, I don't think everything I'm in is a holodeck episode, right?
I think there was some inferred holoism in that, to be honest, that I'm slightly concerned about.
No, I mean, if it comes up and if it's like a cutscene or whatever, I think that's all.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very interested in the crew being seen in the holodeck because I think it reveals something about characters and you have setting scenes in different places. But I think that's different than setting episodes and missions in the holodeck.
We're not going to have the safety protocols have been disabled, and now Moriarty's report.
Exactly. If only the medical officer, though, because Donna is only with us for the first month, I reserve the right to mess with the hologram. And where did I get to? That was CMO. Takes me around to Helm. Anything, Will? Anything else?
Anything I want to add? I want to have some Klingons. Can I add anything? I want Klingons.
Is this good Klingons, bad Klingons, or just Klingons? Just shades of grey Klingons?
Just some Klingons.
You want some Klingons?
We didn't get any Klingons in the last full series.
Any kinds of Klingons? Discovery Klingons are cool.
No, don't mess. Don't no. There are proper Klingons and there are perversions that have been perpetrated. So let's Paul, anything else on these lists?
Let's run with that. Happy.
Okay. So thank you for that. That gives me something to be working with. I'm not going to do stars and wishes at this point because we've just done wishes. We'll pick up after episode 1, which is in a couple of weeks. So thank you for today. Oh, do you mind if I publish this? Okay. Then let me stop the recording.